Welcome guys. Today we have a different kind of video here. It's going to be a little bit more serious. I'm going to be talking about some emotional stuff that happens when you are competitive in something, what be it speedrunning or a sport or anything, any other hobby that involves you and a community and other people all sort of going head to head to accomplish something. That's what speedrunning is. We're all kind of going head to head, doing our own thing. It's us in the game, but we can't help but compare ourselves to everyone else on the leaderboards or to the other active players, or you see someone streaming and you see them do a strat, and there's all this sort of social dynamics there and all sorts of ways that you sort of compare yourself and judge others based on where you're at and where they're at. So I wanted to take this stream to talk about something because I saw recently my main competitor in Spyro 120%, Saboom, recently posted a video of a new PB, and I just want to show you guys this real quick. This is something that really intrigued me to why I wanted to make this video. So here's his recent, not PB, but like a really good run he put on YouTube. I just want to clarify something real quick. The comment you're about to see is by Jacob, and he's a really nice person, and this comment is actually very kind. Please don't make fun of him. There's a larger point to be made here that's very common in speedrunning streams, as you'll see. We have a comment that says, well, you can read it right here. Dale got a 121 last night. Let's go. Chuggers in the chat. And also a nice welcome back to Saboom as well. So, you know, kind of a wholesome comment, but here's what Saboom said in reply. And before we read this, I want to say, well, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Let's just read this real quick. I'll read it out for you guys. So I'm going to say it here and then rest my case moving forward, since ultimately you're entitled to your freedom of expression, especially through electronic words on the pages of the internet. You already know this is going to be something kind of salty, you know, like you could already tell. He says, you're a flag waver, a rabble rouser. There's many like you that I'm forced to put up with. It's great that your hero achieved something of great meaning to the lives of many. He's my friend and rival in this game. I'm interested to see what he does with the run too. But at the end of the day, when you show up in my YouTube comments and Twitch chat solely for the purpose about talking about someone else or posting his emotes, it's pretty annoying. Look at that sentence right there. He is 100% correct. It kills you when you're doing runs all day and someone comes in your chat and is like, hey, you know this guy that's like, you know, right around your level? He's doing great. What do you think about that? Yeah, good for him. You know, like, it's absolutely heartbreaking to read comments like this sometimes. It's heartbreaking to read comments like this sometimes. And you know what? I bet you Jacob didn't even mean it like that. He said, welcome back. It wasn't like mean. He didn't mean this in a mean way. But like, think about how it comes off, you know? We spend all day as runners thinking about our own performance, how well we're doing, if we're valid, if we're thinking about our own validation a lot with what we do. Anything you do in this world, you're thinking about, does this make sense? Am I doing good? You know, you're just thinking about that always. Says, I heard the news. I'm sure I'll continue to hear it for weeks. You can tell he's tired of it. People have been coming. I don't doubt that people have been coming into Saboom's chat for the past like 2 days straight since I got my record. Hey, did you hear Deo got a 121.19? Wow, isn't he great? The fuck you want Saboom to say about that? Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. I love Deo for beating me at this game. You know? It's truly infuriating. This sort of like what we sort of put up with as like public. You know, we put our runs out there for you guys to comment on and, you know, type in the Twitch chat. And, you know, it's kind of on us to, like, not get bothered by stuff like that. But we can't help it. We're human. And especially with something we're so passionate about, we can't help but get fucking frustrated at people saying, like, hey, what about your competitor? What about, you know? It's just infuriating. So, you know, I made my point that let's read the rest of this. Yes, I did hear about his new world record, Mrs. Anonymous. Mom Dweller House. I love the saltiness here. Give me a break and allow me some peace of mind from time to time. For real, please. This goes for all readers of this comment. Rivalry is the opposite of peace. I am well aware we're competing, but it's nice to relax and feel peace without constant reminders of a leaderboard comparing players. Comparison is the thief of joy. True. True shit. Anytime I've gotten wrapped up in the competitive aspect of speedrunning, how well I'm doing compared to Saboom or anyone else, it's only harbored negative feelings for me. It's never been like an inspirational thing. Oh yeah, you know, like I could do it too. Oh, he got a good time? Dude, that means that I can get a good, that's so inspiring. No, it's like, oh, here we go, like ego shot, like good for them, but man, now it's that much harder for me, is what it really feels like. Stop robbing my joy with your propaganda. At most peaceful, I'm a runner playing a solo game, and that's what I thrive on. And this is what's the best. This is the best part of speedrunning, is just being a solo, you and the game. I never liked team sports. I never liked competitive sports. I never liked, when I was a kid, I'd play tennis, and I never liked the concept of like having to overpower your opponent, like on the tennis court. Or, for example, like in soccer or basketball, the fact that if you do something a little wrong, it robs your whole team of a victory, or vice versa. You do everything right, and then one of your teammates fucks up, and it's all over. I like just being myself with the things I like. So the sort of things I gravitate to are skateboarding. It's just me and a skateboard. Sure, there's all sorts of like, this is cool, that's competitive. You can inject competition into hobbies like speedrunning or skateboarding or playing music, but at the end of the day, it is just you and the game. And so it makes it that much kind of nastier and more like, I guess, toxic when we feel this sort of injection of competition. It's like, oh wow, the competition's really heating up. What do you think about that, Deo? What do you think about that, Saboom? It's like, dude, I don't want to think about that. That shit drives me. I'm already insane for playing this game as much as I do, and it just drives you more insane. It's like I think in my position, I want to do everything in my power to not go crazy, to not let negative emotions overcome me. And competition is like 90% of like negative self-talk, negative like, well, that strat is whatever, or, me, I can't, just a bunch of negative self-talk is what it is. I just say it like it is. Sure, there is that little element of like, oh, nice, like, all right, now I feel a little motivated. But the majority of the feeling of competition and speedrunning is a negative one, I would say, in my experience. Some people take competition differently, but if you are really passionate about something and you see someone else doing a little bit better, or, on your coattails coming up on you, that's not a good feeling. It's just not, I've reiterated that a few times now. Let's finish off the rest of this little comment here, and then we'll move on with some more thoughts about it. It isn't motivating for me to... Look, what did I just say? It isn't motivating for me to want to beat others anymore. Only myself. This measurement between players comes after, if no one even cares to check. So, like, and he's so right. I agree so hard with everything he's saying here. It's like, it's not about the competition. I don't speedrun Spyro because I want to beat Saboom. I don't speedrun... Saboom isn't speedrunning Spyro because he wants to beat me. And so when just injecting competition just adds this nasty layer into things for us, where it's like, I'm happy now in my position. I can take a step back a little bit and be like, all right, people are excited about the competition, that's nice, but I still can't shake that feeling of like, someone wants to point out that like community gold. Saboom has the majority of community gold in Spyro 1. Despite me having a world record by a significant margin, Saboom still holds the majority of community golds, which is the best ever performances of each level. So do you think I don't feel an inferiority complex for that when I think too hard about that? I think like, oh, well, maybe he's the one that deserves record, if we're being honest. He just hasn't had a run that strung it together like I have yet, It's just endless mental gymnastics when you're comparing yourself to other people. None of it is real. None of it makes any sense. Who's good, who's bad, who deserves what. None of us deserve anything. But when we start talking about like, oh yeah, I'm excited to see you, beat this guy, it's like you start setting up false expectations, and that's planting the seeds of negativity, of spite and hatred. And it is just talking shit on the trolls. I like that he said this is my last comment on the matter. And, I'm glad he shared this because this is something that I've been harboring and coming to grips with for many years now. If you guys know anything about my story in Spyro 1, you'll know that I've been playing this game as long as Saboom and have been in his shadow for probably about 6 or 7 years of that time. let's say 6 years. I've been not even a top 5 contender in this game. And so, you know, I had to come to like serious grips with the fact that competition is something that I couldn't fully embody in this game. I'm getting some more comfy music. And so with that said, I'm just, I feel like I want to be beyond it now. I want to try my best to like let people just say what their piece is in my chat. If people want to be excited about like the competition between me and Saboom, like I want to let people do that, because what I have found is that for me, telling off every person in my chat that's like, that says something competitive that rubs me the wrong way, if I'm like, hey, let's not talk about Saboom, that's like, that immediately, that's already putting negativity into the air. That's already like distracting me from my run. It's the same thing as if I tell someone off for like a gem count, you know, that they're wrong about. Oh, you missed a gem. And then I'm like, fuck you. And then I fuck something up because I'm distracted by that. It's the same thing. So a lot of this is learning to come to grips with yourself, with your own emotions. All right, even if other people might be a little bit in the wrong or insensitive for saying stuff that's like that stokes the flames of competition, I'm starting to learn that it's like I have to, as a creator, just be okay with it. I just have to let it go. And that's really hard, guys. That's like not an easy thing to do, to let people just get away with saying, hey, you missed a gem. Hey, you know, Saboom just got a new PB. Hey, Saboom's on a hot pace. Hey, who here has ever typed that in this chat room? Yo, Deo, Saboom's on a hot pace right now. And I have to be like, oh, cool. But in my head, I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, you know? But it happened. But you know, what am I going to do? I can't stop that, you know? And at the end of the day, another thing to consider is that people don't mean negatively when they say, this message right here was not sent in a negative light. You know, he actually, I think, was quite being nice here, but you know, is it any surprise that Saboom took this negatively? I would have done the same. That my gut reaction is the same thing. I relate 100% to this. So that's a little bit of my perspective on it, but I wanted to show you guys a little bit of other people's perspective on the matter as well. Here's the Rixer, as many of you guys know, legendary PlayStation speedrunner and video maker. He says, it's really difficult for me to pinpoint exactly how I filter out the bad comments in my head. I suppose I just see it as they've lived a completely different life and don't understand the concept of being competitive. And that's so true. The rest of it has to do with like other types of YouTube comments, but that first part right there is so true. I think the hardest thing to do is to understand where someone else is coming from. It's easy to like read a comment on like YouTube comment, Twitch chat, and immediately gut reaction, like the most insidious, like nasty thing. I mean, the source of toxicity is ourselves. It's us. I'm the one, anytime I say something like, oh, fuck you in the chat, it's me imposing that. Even if someone's being like a fucker, you know, like, and being negative, which is so rare in my stream at least. Even if that happens, it's like, the impetus is on me to find that funny and to like not like be bothered by it. So it's just really this really crazy inner struggle when you're dealing with people stoking the flames of competition between you and a speed competitor. It's something that I want people to be excited about my runs, about the competition, about like the whole storyline that is Spyro 120%. And I'm making this video because every speed game has this, you know, what I'm talking about. The top players, mid-level, anybody goes through this when you speedrun, when you do anything that's like remotely competitive, is you want to embrace the competition, but you can't help but want to toxically push it away. Interpret every competitive message as toxicity. And can you blame yourself for feeling that way? I don't think you can. I think it's natural. And the hardest challenge, one of the hardest emotional challenges of speedrunning is learning to deal with this. Learning to deal with people being like, hey, you see this other guy? And realizing that they don't mean like, fuck you. They mean like, hey, I'm excited about this. It's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing to fully internalize that. To go through the gut reaction, hold it in, and then be like, okay, they didn't mean it like that. It's so hard. Just as a Twitch streamer, that's like a constant battle, not just with competition, but so many messages. You know, like you have to come to grips with that whole process. It's an emotional process, and I'm over here mid-run, you know, having like little like emotional like moments like that in my head. You know, it's really intense like mental battle. It's a mental fight. It really is. And I wanted to make this video because I want you guys to know how hard it is. It's not, if I'm just quietly focusing on the game, that's the best case scenario. The more common scenario is that I'm gripping with emotional strife, be it from my own gameplay, and then seeing a message that's like, oh, you know, rip, oh, you messed that up, and then that like compounds, and then, oh, you know, Saboom's on a good pace, and then that compounds, and then how could I not lash out? So it's a real struggle, a real inner struggle. I brought up the Discord itself right here. This is back in 2021 when Saboom initially beat my first record in 120%. Just a quick history. Saboom beat my 122.13 with the first ever 121. And so we kind of went back and forth like that. Thank you, Drawman. We kind of went back and forth. So this was around the time he had beaten me, and I was trying to get it back and failing, basically. Abra posts this. He says, insane lead, and he posts a comparison of Saboom being a minute ahead of me at like the same point in our PBs, basically. And, you know, people are commenting on this. So he's a minute ahead. Wow, that's crazy. Wow, that's crazy. He's a minute ahead. Wow, that's so crazy. And they do different routes and but your point stands. That is pretty crazy that Saboom was a minute ahead on Deo's PB there. And so, of course, I'm reading this, and I come down here, scroll through some of this, and I type this. Yeah, Saboom is faster than me, and perhaps I'm a fool for trying to beat him. You can feel the salt. You can feel the toxicity in this comment. You can feel it. Oh, maybe I'm just being an idiot for trying to beat him. You know, obviously I could, you know, but looking at comparisons like that, it's demoralizing. It's like, fuck. It's like, yeah, he is a minute ahead of me. Even though I've come this far, it's like, you still got a long way to go. And even now that I have record, you know, you think I don't look back at my any percent time and think, well, Chris executed his run better. Even though it's a slower time, I just got lucky with Rat Proxy. So his run is better. You think I don't think about that shit all the fucking time? That's why I have to go back to any percent. It's truly like a mental torture chamber. It doesn't matter how good you are, whether you have world record or not, you're always going to be thinking these thoughts. So the way you cope with all of this, this isn't like an advice thing right now. This is just like my experience. The way you cope with all this stuff says everything about how much longevity you're going to have. If you're experiencing these sort of dark, salty moments, is to really go somewhere dark and not recover from that. Let that have a permanent effect on you the next day, and start to develop spite and hatred that lasts. Then that's going to be your downfall. If you're like that, you know, and I couldn't blame you if you were like that, because I can relate to that. But finding ways to cope with this level of inner toxicity, it's not coming from the outer world. People comparing, you know, oh, Saboom's a minute ahead. That's not toxic. That's just an interesting comparison. But what's toxic is the reaction. So I guess really the whole thing is about just about coping with your inner self, about coping with your own self-imposed negativity that you can't help but interpret, your gut reaction to it all. Because you look at this shit and you think, fuck, I'm so far off. I'm never gonna fucking do it. You just want to throw your hands up. The more you think about it, the more you beat yourself up. We are cruel people to ourselves, and we just want to beat ourselves up until we quit. So you have to fight that. And however you can fight that, be that by maybe not playing the game so much, taking breaks, taking time away from the game, looking at things different ways. For me, it's like realizing that it's not the toxicity coming from there, but it's rather from me. It's like a logical approach. You know, those are things that help me. But for you, it might be different. And some people never recover. Some people never get out of this rut, of this salt that you see in this comment, that you see in this comment. Some people never recover from it. It's only the strongest, the most emotionally strong people that are able to just continue doing what they do despite it all. And also shout outs to Bob Squabble. He is a Chad among chuds. So, I don't mean to be too negative, guys. I just wanted to shed some light on what we all experience. You know, when we do something, when we put our minds to something, there are ugly moments. There are very ugly moments that just stem from your own self-loathing, your own toxicity, your own just wanting to quit, really. And you have to fight that. You have to stay strong. I have no other words to describe. I have no advice on that subject. I think it's something you have to figure out on your own. But you have to have an iron will, you know, because it will get ugly. But with that said, I will say, look, taking a step back, overall, this is such a small part of the overall picture that is speedrunning to me. The competition, the toxicity. And if you don't let it become the big part of it all, for me, this is like 10% maybe of like what I think about on a daily basis. You know, sometimes a little more, sometimes not at all. But speedrunning is about so much more than just pitting yourself against other people, about going into their stream, about going to someone's stream and be like, hey, you know, someone else got record. You know, it's about so much more than the emotional, visceral, gut, toxic reaction that is so hard. That's just human nature. It's about so much more than that. It's a personal journey with you in the game. And I think despite it all, I think that's what keeps me going in the darkest moments, is that it's like, it doesn't have to be a competition, you know? And when I fully like realize that, once I get out of my salty, sad mood, I realize that, and it's like, cool, you know? And you don't have to be as toxic as your gut reaction might lead you to be. And finding that coping, that balance, that's about like, that's some real emotional inner peace to get to that level, you know. Sometimes I get close to that, sometimes I don't. Some days I'm just cussing out my chat, you know, thinking that they mean the worst when they really don't. And other days I'm laughing along with every salty, silly little competitive, you know, thing. So the best we can hope for is to grow emotionally from it all, to not let it beat us down, but to grow, to look at inside ourselves instead of blaming the world. Why is everyone trying to make this into a competition? Instead of saying that, be like, why am I bothered by the competition? That's the ultimate fucking, like, that's the ultimate test in emotional maturity. And I fail it, you fail it, everyone fails it. But it's all about getting back up. So that's my talk on competition, speedrunning, and toxicity from a top player in Spyro who's currently going through it. What do you guys think? I mean, let me know. This video is going to be on YouTube, so feel free to post a comment if you go through this, like, in your own life. Maybe you do some other hobby, something similar, and you're dealing with competitive sort of negativity in your own mind. How is that manifesting for you? How are you coping with it? I'm really curious to know. But until then, I will catch you guys in the next one. Stay amazing. Stay positive, please. Hopefully this video wasn't too negative. Stay positive. You know, look forward. There's a reason why we do what we do, and it's not out of some spite or negativity. It's out of love. And so in honor of that, I want to say I love you, and cheers. Chuggers in the chat.
Damn.